Every February, we celebrate a special holiday. And no, I'm not talking about Valentine's Day. I'm referring to the 28 or 29 days we dedicate to honoring Black History Month, our nation's way of showing respect and recognition for the hard work of and sacrifices made by African Americans. It serves as both a celebration and a powerful reminder that Black History Month is American history, Black culture is American culture, and Black stories are essential to the ongoing story of America.
On January 20th, 2021, Kamala D. Harris became the first woman, the first African American woman, the first Indian American woman, the first of an Asian American descent, and the first graduate of an HBCU to be sworn as the Vice President of the United States of America. As she said in her acceptance speech, she may be the first woman, she will not be the last. Kamala Harris has spent her life-breaking glass ceiling, her lifetime of public service, and marked by a strong sense of justice and defined by fighting for the civil rights of all Americans.
Jackie Robinson was born on January 31st, 1919 in Carroll, Georgia, and died October 24th, 1972 in Stamford, Connecticut. He is well known for being the first black baseball player to play in the American Major Leagues during the 20th century. On April 15th, 1947, Robinson broke the decades-old color line of Major League Baseball when he appeared on the field for the National League Brooklyn Dodgers. He played as an infielder and outfielder for the Dodgers.
Dasia Taylor, at just 17 years old, became a nationally recognized scientist by creating color-changing sutures that detect infection. As a natural indicator of infection, when bees detect acidity changes in skin, the sutures change from bright red to dark purple. The color change serves as an early detection of an infection. Dasia came up with her idea after learning about smart sutures that uses technology to detect wounds that change and sync to doctors' computers or smartphones. Knowing that the expensive technology would not be accessible to people in developing countries, where infection from surgical wounds is comparatively higher, Dasia set out to create a more cost-effective solution.
My name is Dr. Natalie Washington Weik. I am an African historian. I am also a publisher, and I'm a mother of two. We have a publishing company, and we have 3 books that have come out, 2 of which are bestsellers, and they are Shango's Son, Obatala's Daughter Discovers True Friends, as well as Oshun's Flow, our most recent book. Celebrating Black History Month. I've actually celebrated Black History Month my whole life. About 100 years ago, a little under 100 years ago, Carter G. Woodson actually established Black History Week, and that was celebrated in the African American community for decades and decades. It became so popular that in 1976, when I was just a young toddler, the then President of the United States, Gerald Ford, actually declared Black History Month. And almost every U.S. president since then has honored Black History Month. Most Americans were not familiar with African American history. And as you learn African American history, you almost have to learn African history as well. So I became an African historian because I saw that Americans needed to learn more about African history. And then I became a publisher, and we put out these children's books that many of you might be familiar with, because we saw that there was not enough for children on African history. For students wanting and needing to celebrate African American history and Black History Month, I would say that first I want to compliment East Point Academy's teachers and staff. They have done such a magnificent job over the years of making sure that students incorporate Black history during Black History Month and 365 days throughout the year. So, as you celebrate Black History Month, find something new that you haven't learned before about Black history, African American, or African history. I even learned something this month, even as an expert, a doctor who has a degree in this. My son taught me about a Black mathematician that I was not familiar with. So there's always something new to learn. Go out and find it. Thank you.
Left to the right, top to the floor. When I say Black history, say it's yours. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. And we say it loud and proud again. There's no America without the African. Fighting to get it equal. Black history, the story of the people. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. It's yours. Only 28 days in the month of February. It's just a kickoff. We don't stop till every textbook and every class give up the glory. The true and living facts are his and her story. People want to know why we still celebrate it. Road been rocky and we made it. We elated. Our survivors, strivers, fighters, singers. Get us dropping names like we have butterfingers. Rosa, King, X-Truth, the great. me, Fred Douglass, these are the basics. But how about Bessie Coleman, the flight aviatrix, or Katherine Johnson, who helped launch the spaceships, or Louis Latimer illuminating homes, or Dr. Shirley Jackson improving telephones, or Fred McKinley Jones keeping ice cream cold? I could go on and on till my body get old. Left to the right, top to the floor. When I say black history, say it's yours. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. And we say it loud and proud again. There's no America without the African. Fighting to get it equal. Black history, the story of the people. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. It's yours. Only 28 days.
Hi, my name is Whaley. Diana Ross was born March 26, 1944, and is an American singer and actress. She rose to fame as the lead singer of the vocal group The Supremes, who became Motown's most successful act during the 1960s and one of the world's best-selling girl groups of all time. Some of her most well-known songs include Ain't No Mountain High Enough, I'm Coming Out, and Keep Me Hanging On.
Quinton Byfield, Zion Joseph. Quinton Byfield became the highest selected black player of NHL history. When the Los Angeles Kings chose him with the No. 2 pick, the 2020 NHL draft. Byfield, in interviews leading up to the draft, said he embraced the plateau. He wants to become a role model for players of color. He called his selection definitely super special. Being a black player, I've had some adversity growing up playing hockey, but my skill set and talent was able to trump that.
Marley Diaz is a purpose-driven 16-year-old founder of hashtag 1000 Black Girl Books and author of Marley Diaz Gets It Done and So Can You. Marley launched the hashtag 1000 Black Girl Books drive in November of 2015, leveraging the power of social media to reach a larger audience. The goal was to collect 1,000 books featuring black female protagonists. By February of 2016, the story went viral and was picked up by media outlets around the world, as well as bloggers, schools, youth-focused organizations, and millions of individuals who wanted to participate in the project. Marley was recognized by Time as one of the most 25 influential teens.
Why do we step? Belgium Step Ambassador Brianna Stewart says, stepping is a shout out to our ancestors. Every time I step into the floor, it's almost as if I'm waking them up and telling them that I'm living through them and their experiences and their stories, and I'm not letting all of that be forgotten.
Marcus Garvey was a writer, gifted speaker, and civil rights activist who encouraged black people to have pride in their race. A civil rights activist is a leader fighting for equal rights for minorities. He started a Back to Africa movement, hoping to give African Americans the chance to go back to their motherland of Africa. His ideas became known as Garveyism. To quote Garvey with confidence, "You have won before you have started."
Mae Jemison, in full, Mae Carol Jemison, born October 17, 1956, in Decatur, Alabama. She is an American physician and the first African-American woman to become an astronaut. She spent more than a week orbiting around Earth in a space shuttle called the Endeavour.
My name is Dr. Terrence Weik. I'm a professor of anthropology in the Department of Anthropology at the University of South Carolina. I'm here to talk with you today about Black History Month and some of the things that anthropology and archaeology can teach us about Black history. Let me explain a little bit about archaeology, which is what I do. Archaeology is the scientific study of the human past, whether it's people, places, or things, artifacts. So for instance, here we have some images of some research that I've done in places like Florida, where I've investigated Africans who escaped from slavery and who ran away and joined up with Native Americans, indigenous people, such as the Seminole Indians of Florida. I've also looked at indigenous Chickasaw people and their interactions with Africans on ranches in what is today Mississippi. And so what we're trying to do with archaeology is recover not only images from archives, but also artifacts, everyday objects, whether it's pottery, whether it's pieces of bottles, beads and adornments, nails that people use to build their houses or pipes, any little thing that is left behind, we try to excavate and recover from the earth. And we can use hand tools like shovels and screens, and we can use something more sophisticated like a ground-penetrating radar. So what does celebrating Black History Month mean to me? Well, one of the things that I think it's important to do is ask the big questions of life. If you ever have a question that you've thought of, you can frame it in a way that explores it from the perspective of Black history. And so one of those big questions that I think all of us have an interest in is, where do we come from? And I can tell you as an anthropologist, and particularly as an archaeologist, that there is evidence of human beings originating or coming from the continent of Africa. And we have fossils, and here is a digital readout of the jaw of an ancient creature called Ardipithecus, which is one of our earliest human ancestors. And there's so many other types of ancestors we have. Some of them are called Australopithecines and Homo erectus, and today all that's left are us, our species, which is Homo sapiens. And so we can answer the big questions. Where did we all come from? The continent of Africa. No matter what we do, we're all inspired by some motivation, and what moves me to study anthropology and archaeology is in particular the links between Africa and the Americas. From my very beginnings as a student of anthropology, I was struck by the connections, and as I started studying history, art history, anthropology, I started discovering, oh, there's some very concrete things that link these continents together historically. And so I like to always start with the whole idea of Black history beginning as Africans come from the continent of Africa to the Americas and become Black people there. So one of the ways that this manifests concretely that deals with South Carolina is how Africans came through the slave trade to South Carolina, and they brought with them not many things, but one thing they brought was the knowledge they had of how to do things like feed themselves. And so they brought knowledge of agriculture, how to grow rice, for instance, as well as how to make things with their hands. And these two things made South Carolina a wealthy place historically. And so one important question to all of us is, how can we celebrate Black History Month? And one way we can do that is to find something that interests us. And so I would offer this to any of you. If there's something that interests you, anything about the world, you can study it through the lens of Black history. My children spend a lot of time playing video games, and so that's inspired me to look more at Black history this month, and I discovered some things about the role of Black inventors in the video game industry. I hadn't known this until like just a few days ago when I started looking into this history myself. And so what you see here is a screenshot of a video game developed by a Black Martinican, a woman born on the island of Martinique in the Caribbean, a Black Martinican software developer who developed software that created a video game called Mewilo, which is a game that allows you to travel through the streets of Martinique and see the architecture and learn about the history. And this game was developed in the 1980s by Muriel Tramis, which you see a picture of here. And she spends a lot of her time living in France today, but she's connected to the island of Martinique, where she first developed some of her ideas. If any of you all are thinking about a career, the video gaming industry is very lucrative, and they profit to the extent of like $180 billion. So one thing I would suggest to you all in closing is that you ask questions about anything that interests you in life. And some of the answers to those questions are going to involve Black history. It could be about things great and small. It could be about everyday objects. It could be about games, right? So ask questions and look into history. History provides us lots of answers, and we can find those answers by looking on the internet, in archives, in museums, even within the ground, the very artifacts that we can pull out. So there's a variety of ways that we can approach this. Thanks.
been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on, I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters, you know I got a made up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone. And I just might fail, but Lord knows I'll try. Sure stars fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Do you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. I hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. I go to prepare a place for